A very good evening to our audience and stakeholders from India, and bonjour to our friends from Brazil. I'm Astha Grover. I head the Startup India team at Invest India, the National Investment Promotion Agency of India. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you for the launch of the India-Brazil Startup Bridge, an initiative by Startup India, Invest India, and APEC Brazil. This bridge aims to further strengthen the bilateral relations between the countries and help entrepreneurs to access the Indian and Brazilian market through a single point of contact in these respective nations. We would like to express our wholehearted gratitude and acknowledge the presence of His Excellency, Mr. Suresh K. Reddy, the Indian Ambassador to the Federative Republic of Brazil, and His Excellency, Mr. Andre Arana Correa do Lago, the Ambassador of Brazil to the Republic of India. We would also like to welcome Mr. Deepak Bagla, Managing Director and CEO Invest India, and Mr. Sergio Segovia, President of Apex Brazil. Thank you for joining us for the launch event of India-Brazil Startup Bridge, a continued effort to strengthen the entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem of the two nations. I would now request Mr. Deepak Bagla, of MD and CEO of Invest India, to give his opening remarks.
Thank you, Astha. Thank you for that. And Ambassador Delago, thank you so much for joining us, and Ambassador Reddy, both of you. Thank you. It's your guidance which is leading us on, and it's with both of you and the way you're taking it forward for us. And my good friend Andre, and I must tell you that when Andre was here earlier during the year in January, that's when it was decided that we are going to launch this bridge. And I'll also tell you why it was decided that we are going to launch this startup bridge. Just as an example, yesterday there was a webinar between India and Brazil for startups on agri-tech. This was the fourth of the webinars we've had in the past 90 days. And you know what's interesting? In yesterday's webinar itself, we had over 2,000 views. Wow. And over these four in the past 90 days, which were on COVID impact, which were on agri-tech, which were on fintech, which were on finance, we've had over 12,000. And the reason why you're seeing such a deep interest is because of the similarities and the complementarities between our two countries. And why I say that this bridge is critical is because of this enthusiasm. I don't think it's going to be an exaggeration if I say that there's a new future which begins today. And when this bridge comes up, and the robustness on this bridge will bring about the partnerships in the strength of our two countries. And one of those elements of partnerships which I see very, very critical as we move into the future and as we see this relationship strengthening tremendously is based on innovation and startup. These are the two strengths of our two economies, and our two societies in much of a way is the entrepreneurship which is there. And let me give you a small example of what Astha and her team from Startup India and Invest India have done. The Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched Startup India in 2016 January. So we are a young startup nation. We are actually a startup nation in many ways, just 48 months old. And what has happened in these 48 months, if you look at it, India today is number 3 in the world in number of unicorns. Number 2 in the world in number of startups. Astha will tell you the official number of startups with Startup India is in the range of 45, 60,000, while the market estimates are about 80,000, which takes us ahead of UK. And number 1 in the world in number of new startups adding every day. It's ahead of Israel in that number. And what is interesting is, I must point out here that even during the past 220 days of the lockdown of this pandemic, India has added 7 new unicorns to my startup eco-culture in India. And that is happening because of 2 or 3 reasons. One of the core strengths of my startups is their frugal innovation. Their ability to best utilize the given small restricted resources, both in terms of capital and other. And so coming up with solutions which are not just scalable, but easily implementable and at price points which are less than one-fifth of those of the global average. The second is that we all know that India is probably one of the most diverse cultures, economies, polities, geography. I mean, on every axis of diversity, India rates one of the highest, which may be a gene pool of India, which may be the economic diversity, every level of diversity. That means that the set of challenges which my startups are picking up are across such a diversified stream that their applicability gets very accessible across the globe. So, what I see this bridge doing, and this bridge is going to be joining the dots, it is going to be bringing global challenges together, and this is the bridge which will bring you the power of partnerships. Partnerships between Brazil and India, and partnerships which will create the best solutions, not only for our own people in Brazil and in India, but for the entire world. So when I said that the launch of this bridge today is going to be a beginning of new future, I actually mean that you will see these results in a very short and soon period of time, where these partnerships together bring about a completely different disruptional level of solutions to the world's challenges. With that, may I congratulate everyone who's with us, and we all look forward to everyone's joint and continued support to make it one of the most vibrant bridges and to strengthen this partnership to make it a brilliant example on the global stage of how these partnerships can create the best solutions. Thank you again, and Asta, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bagla, for your words of encouragement and for paving the way forward with your inspiring remarks. May I now welcome Mr. Sergio Segovia, President of Apex Brazil, to give the opening remarks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to greet my dear friend, Mr. Deepak Bagla, to salute all the audience in this particular occasion with a warm welcome to the Ambassador of India to Brazil, Mr. Suresh Reddy, and my friend, Mr. André Correa do Lago, the Ambassador of Brazil to India. It's an honor to address you today in this distinguished webinar for the launch of the India-Brazil Startup Bridge at the International Bridge website. Today, we stress the importance of the India-Brazil relationship, another notable chapter of our rich history. In this regard, I express my appreciation to Invest in India and Startup India for this important event and for the new platform. On the other hand, I'd like to highlight an essential message for this privileged audience. The Brazilian Export and Investment Promotion Agency, the Apex Brazil, concentrates on the strengthening of commercial relations between India and Brazil, especially with Invest in India, with which we recently signed a memorandum of understanding in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Jair Bolsonaro. In the same way of India, Brazil is huge in size, in population, and in opportunities for investments. As you all recognize, we are facing a crucial moment to raise the level of cooperation between our countries to a new degree of engagement, with better consideration on the opportunities offered in terms of trade and investments, as well as the strengthening of common interests. Apex Brazil is an agency with more than 2 decades of experience, focused on promoting exports, internationalizing Brazilian enterprise, and attracting foreign investments to Brazil. As a great partner of the private sector and maintaining a straight dialogue with stakeholders from both the private and governmental spheres, Apex Brazil is right next to you to support programs and initiatives that result in advances and improved exchange between our countries. It's a joyful occasion for me today as we launch the India-Brazil Startup Bridge within the Startup India, a website in partnership with Invest in India that has more than 38,000 startups at its database. I've already mentioned that Brazil is known as a scale-up nation, a country where startups have great opportunities of improving their businesses. I'm proud to announce that Brazil has reached the mark of 14 unicorns, proving the gigantic potential of opportunities in the Brazilian market. In this sense, I invite you all to access the information and feel free to enhance your knowledge about Brazil and its innovative business environment for startups. Keep in mind that Apex Brazil is at your service for any need you may have for safely landing in the country. Our doors are open to facilitate your investments in Brazil. Thank you very much, and I wish a very good webinar for you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sergio, for your stimulating thoughts. Your appreciation and long-lasting support means a lot to us. May I now humbly request His Excellency, Mr. Andre Araina Corrêa do Lago, the Ambassador of Brazil to the Republic of India, to give his keynote address for the launch. Your Excellency, you're on mute. Yeah. It's
mute,
fine now. Yeah.
But no, I'm not anymore. No, you unmuted me. Yeah. It's a really enormous pleasure to be together with you, dear Segovia, and dear Deepak, because the launching of the startup bridge India Brazil is very much linked to this special relationship that Apex and Invest India have developed thanks to both of you. So first of all, I have to thank both of you for what you have achieved already since you have signed the Memorandum of Understanding that I was glad to see happening. And I want to mention that I'm very glad also that I'm having this webinar with my dear Suresh Reddy, the new ambassador of India to Brazil, who is doing a wonderful job. And I think, Suresh, we can decide that we have to work so hard so that people think, oh, yeah, is it Suresh that is going to do it better, or is it Andre, etc. So I think that we should have a very positive spirit in working together and do everything, because this is the moment for Brazil and India. And why do I say that? I'll tell you very sincerely. When I arrived in India, I saw that most of the excellent relations between Brazil and India were coming from our experience in working together in multilateral institutions. So we worked incredibly well with the WTO issues in all the organs of the United Nations. Our two countries knew that they had to defend the opportunities that they had to have, and we were extraordinarily coordinated in that. Later, we also got very, very close in smaller, that we call plurilateral structures, like the BRICS, like IPSA, also obviously in the G20, but even in climate change with BASIC and others. But what happened in this bilateral visit when President Bolsonaro was invited to be the chief guest of the Republic Day this year in January, is that I can tell you this is truly the first bilateral visit between our two countries, because we talked about what we could do, the two together, and not only on what we were working in multilateral and plurilateral institutions. So I think, Segovia, and this is very, very important, we are starting now a true bilateral relationship. And this event today symbolizes this very much. And one of the first things that I did when I arrived here was to go to Mumbai. And we had in Mumbai the first India-Brazil FinTech conference in April last year. And it was an extraordinary experience because these Brazilian young guys and girls and the young Indian guys and girls, suddenly when they were talking, it was like an electric shock. They had these things in common. And I have to say that Deepak, you touched the point very clearly. This extraordinary impulse that our people have regarding entrepreneurship is something that is not so known internationally, but we are incredible. We have incredible young entrepreneurs. The other thing is that I love the expression you used of a new future, because the world visibly needs our countries, and our countries have so much to offer. And I think that our countries have most of the answers for the rest of the developing countries to achieve sustainable development. So, yes, let's work together. We are both diverse countries. We grew as diverse. We think diversity is the normal thing, while most of the other countries are discovering diversity quite recently. So we came first, we do it better, and we will do it better together. So thank you very much. Congratulations. And I just want to say a very special hello to Jean and also to Guilherme, because we've been working together so well. And I'm really enthusiastic about the event today. All the very best for all of you. And thank you very much for inviting me to join you today.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. The guidance received from you will enable us to further our vision in building a startup nation, and we thank you for your encouragement. May I now request His Excellency, Mr. Suresh K. Reddy, the Ambassador of India to the Federative Republic of Brazil, to give his keynote address.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Asta. Again, very warm, welcome and greetings to especially Deepak, Mr. Sergio, and my good friend, Ambassador Andre. It is a pleasure. It's a pleasure always to listen to you, to talk to you, to interact with you. And I must say a special thanks also for having prepared me for my stay in Brazil, really. I have been a big beneficiary of all the experience which you shared with me. Thank you so much for that, Ambassador. I think what you said is the most important point about the need for us to work together. And that is what I'm also realizing more and more about the potential which exists for a partnership. And this potential can be realized when we work together. For the past 2 days, past 2 weeks, I should say, there have been about two important events which happened in India. And that only reiterated the message to me about the opportunities which are there and which one I feel we're not really tapped into. One is the Startup Awards. The Startup Awards which happened in India in October. What was interesting was that we had 1,641 startups which had participated. But even more interesting was that they had participated from 27 out of the 28 provinces in India. I thought this really reflected the depth and penetration of digital India. And that has been an important element in my discussions here with the leadership and also the private sector in Brazil. The other interesting event which I saw and the report which I read was about the resilience of the startup ecosystem. This report was launched 2 days ago in Delhi. And I went through the report, I heard the speakers review the report. It was very, very interesting. It was amazing because I thought basically what Deepak was speaking about, what Ambassador Andre was speaking about, or what Mr. Sergio was referring to, essentially the spirit of entrepreneurship. That has been the backbone of the startup success in India. And what did that report identify? That in spite of the 228 days, there were many sectors in the startups which saw 5x growth as compared to the pre-COVID days. I mean, we had EdTech, online health insurance, online fitness, telemedicine, teleconference, and more sectors which saw between 2x to 5x growth. And some sectors did get affected, but many were kind of hanging there. They were very comfortably placed, not very well placed, but they were still there, waiting to again get back to the pre-COVID days. And what this really reflected again was the success of the entrepreneurship. And it is startups are all about entrepreneurship. Startups are all about identifying the opportunities. Startups are all about the spirit, the animal spirit, as we say, which makes them success. And here in I've been here since mid-September, about 45, 50 days, and I've done about 100 meetings plus. And I must acknowledge that every meeting has given me more ideas for partnership. It has only made me realize how much potential is there. And importantly, what I also realized that people of Brazil and people of India, we share a similar entrepreneurship spirit. We share the animal spirit, and that is what has resulted in India today becoming a $3 trillion economy and Brazil a $2 trillion economy. It's really remarkable success of the private sector in Brazil that today we are already reached a $2 trillion economy. And what the startup bridge, I believe, is really a bridge for the new future. It is building a bridge which is enabling the youth, which is again the future of both our countries, to participate in this new future. And it is enabling a partnership which is long lasting, and it is enabling a partnership which meets the needs of the people. How did startups become successful in India? Fundamentally, because they were meeting the aspirations of the people. They were working in tandem with the government to provide services to the people which the government was not able to provide. And that is what has resulted in the 36,000 startups. And I understand last 2 years we have added more than 4,000 startups each year. And Brazil has also had a similar success. They already have about 2,800 startups plus. And as Sergio was mentioning, more than 14 unicorns, which again reflects the entrepreneurship of the Brazilians. Interestingly, we have entered the digital era, and I think in the digital era, we really do not have an option but to become partners, because this era has redefined what is success. This has redefined competitiveness, and in this new era where the definitions are changed, all the more need for us to work together and strengthen this partnership. And here, what I would like to point out is just visualize. And here you got a billion plus people with a unique ID, a billion plus people with a billion smartphones, a billion plus people with a billion needs, and a billion ideas. Now, add to that, again, as I said, the Brazilian population of 250 million ospas nearby, and another 200 million smartphones, and plus another 500 million ideas. Just visualize what a large market, what a large ecosystem which is available for you to tap into. That is where I feel this bridge is going to play a critical role. Because in India, we already have more than 520, 530 accelerators and startups. And through this bridge, I believe we'll be able to enable the startups on both sides to reach out to each other, to tap into the VC market, to tap into the angel investors, and also to benefit from all the accelerators from sharing the experiences. And I also believe, importantly, it also enables the policymakers to get the benefit of each other's success as to which policies are work better for promoting it. And in conclusion, I would again like to thank Startup India, especially for two things. One is for preparing the report on identifying the opportunities which is existing between these two large economies. Thank you. I'm looking forward to reading the report, and I'm waiting for it to be launched, and also for launching this platform. Now, I was earlier happy to hear about your fourth event on AgriTech. What is interesting is that yesterday I was giving an interview in a TV studio, and there I spoke about this bridge. I spoke about the importance of this bridge, and this was a tech session of the news studio, of the news section. And subsequently, I have also discussed with them about doing a 3-part episode in the TV about agri-tech between the two sides, because I could recognize the complementarities, I could recognize the shared challenges and the shared opportunities, both in the field of agriculture plus also technology in agriculture, be it in ICT, startups, whatever. And I'm glad to say that I've agreed and we are working on that, and I'll be coming back with more details. On the idea of partnering, we have about 8 events which are lined up in the next 45 days, covering various aspects of trade and commerce, and in which naturally we would want all of you to be our partners, and especially my good friend Ambassador Andrew. I look forward to him joining us in each of the events and participating and sharing his thoughts, and enabling the partnership to grow higher and higher. And conclusion, again, a special thanks to Meher Aluwalia, Navya Sharma, Gautam, and Hindol. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your words of wisdom and valuable insights. You would also be happy to know that, while you mentioned the National Startup Awards as a macroeconomic view of India, today we have at least one startup coming from every state and union territory. And we have covered over 75% districts in India. What is more interesting is that, like Mr. Bagla was mentioning, 45% of these startups today are coming from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. And may I add, it is partnerships like these that fuel the aspirations and dreams of entrepreneurs coming from every part of the country. So thank you for that. The foundation of the India-Brazil Startup Bridge was laid in the MOU signed in West India and Apex Brazil during President Bolsonaro's visit to India in January 2020. The bridge is a joint effort by Startup India, Invest India, and Apex Brazil to enable startups, investors, incubators, and aspiring entrepreneurs of both the countries to connect with one another and enable access to resources that will truly help them become globalized startups. I now humbly request all the dignitaries to launch the India-Brazil Startup Bridge. Thank you, everyone. With the launch of this bridge, we have set the building blocks for cross-border collaboration, enabling international market access for the startups of the two nations. May I now invite Mr. Hindol Sen Gupta, Vice President, Strategic Investment and Research Unit at Invest India, to shed some light on the India-Brazil opportunity paper.
Thank you very much, Astha. Excellencies, Mr. Bagla, friends at Invest India. This is, of course, a unique opportunity for us to present a unique opportunity paper. Invest India, with the support of Apex Brazil, the Embassy of India in Brazil, and of course the Embassy of Brazil in India, has prepared a unique opportunity paper that puts together in one document the vitality of the opportunity between the two countries, whether it's in agriculture, in technology, in the world of startups. There's almost no sector where these two great nations cannot cooperate and collaborate. The paper explores the current dynamics of our bilateral relationship and highlights how the future of this partnership looks very bright in a charged and changed new world order around the world in a post-pandemic universe. It also discusses potential areas of collaboration, effectively leveraging our common strengths and guiding us, our two countries, into a better and prosperous future. I now take this opportunity to launch this unique India-Brazil opportunity paper.
Thank you, Hindol. I request our esteemed dignitaries to launch the India-Brazil opportunity paper. Once again, thank you, everyone. I'm confident this paper and partnership at large will unravel new opportunities that can be pursued by entrepreneurs and innovators alike. With that, I would like to extend my sincere regards and deepest appreciation to His Excellency Mr. Suresh Reddy, His Excellency Andrea Reiner, Mr. Sergio Segovia, for being a part of this special launch. It was my great pleasure and honor to host you all today. With this, viewers, we will now segue into our next exciting segment, a panel discussion on cross-border opportunities between India and Brazil. The panel was moderated by Ms. Navya Sharma from Invest India and Mr. Sergio Gustavo from Apex Brazil. We hope you enjoy this fruitful discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Astha. Viewers, we'll just wait for a couple of minutes for all of our panelists to join, and then without further ado, we'll begin with this very exciting panel discussion that we have lined up for you today. Thank you so much, Astha. Viewers, we'll just wait for a couple of minutes for all of our panelists to join, and then without further ado, we'll begin with this very exciting panel discussion that we have lined up for you today. Thank you so much, Astha. Viewers, we'll just wait for a couple of minutes for all of our panelists to join, and then without further ado, we'll begin with this very exciting panel discussion that we have lined up for you today. Thank you so much, Astha.
Yeah, Ms. Navya, just to cross-check, I'm with audio problems here. If you could repeat the point you have made, please.
I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Oh, now it's audible.
Absolutely. My apologies. Virtual, virtual conferencing always. It's the perils of virtual conferencing. So, without further ado, to all of our viewers, on behalf of Invest India, Startup India, Apex Brazil, I very warmly welcome you to this very special and exciting panel discussion that we have lined up for you today. Just a small suggestion: do check out the India Brazil Startup Bridge as well as the opportunity paper that we just launched. They're very exciting, and I hope you have a good time reading it and exploring the page. The links will be in the description boxes of the social media platforms that you are viewing this from. I would start by introducing the Indian side of this panel today, and then we will move on to the Brazilian side and start the panel discussion. So on the Indian side, we have two experts that have joined us today and have consented to give us their time. First, we have Mr. Abhinav Sinha. Abhinav is the Global Chief Operating Officer at Oyo Hotels and Homes, an Indian unicorn startup. He oversees the company's commercial supply and business operations vertical globally to ensure that the company stays focused on sustainable growth through strong business economics and a technology and product first approach. Last but not second, on the Indian side, we have Mr. Chandan Kumar Ghosh. Chandan represents Mahindra Comviva on the panel today. And Chandan is a principal architect of innovation at Mahindra Comviva Technologies. In his role at Comviva, Chandan focuses on building and maintaining the innovation culture in the organization to strengthen Comviva's technological competency and to build internal capabilities for high-tech functions for future readiness. Under his management, he works on identifying avenues for product enhancement, converting relevant ideas to proof of concepts, and evaluating front-end technology stacks for choosing best-in-class relevant solutions for businesses. Chandan also, out of his professional commitments on the personal side, actually is an active member of the MIT Technology Review Global Panel, mentor of change at the Atal Incubation Center, and a technology mentor at a few startups. We really look forward to hearing from you, Chandan, your professional and personal experiences and all the learnings that you've had. Over to you, Sergio.
Great, Navia. Thank you very much. And I also would like to share a very warm welcome to our audience, and also say that it's an honor to be here alongside with our presidents, ambassadors, and such great companies as well. My name is Sergio Rossi, and I am investment officer at Apex Brazil. And today, just like Navia said, we have a very interesting panel lined up for you today. So Navia has already introduced the Indian companies that will be joining us, and I also would like to share a little bit of information about the Brazilian companies, the big Brazilian companies that are operating in India, and they had some time to be here with us today. First, I would like to start with Mr. Guilherme Mota. He is the head of operations of Salary Fits in India. Guilherme Mota, he was responsible to set Salary Fits operations in India, which is a fintech company that, through its platform, allows products or service providers to integrate their systems with payroll information of entities, providing access to new risk assessment tools, as well as the possibility of deducting installments directly from one's salaries. With significant experience in driving companies to the right strategy on international market, currently more than 15 years experience in the Indian market, Mr. Guilherme has worked with a range of different projects, from commercial and marketing strategies to M&As. And I also would like to say that it's an honor to have here Mr. Jean Butsky. Jean is the managing director of the VEG industry in India. And Jean has more than 15 years of experience in the electrical and electronic manufacturing industry. And he has a bachelor degree in electrical engineering, in production engineering, and a master in electric rotating machines. He's highly skilled in motors and generators, with strong background in power generation, especially in renewable energy. As an expatriate in India for more than 5 years, before taking it up the managing director, he has led the sales force of VEG and played a key role in achieving significant growth and establishing VEG as a major player in virus segment. So thank you very much to all the companies during this panel. And so we have many questions, so I believe we can start right now. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Now, just before we begin, I'd like to address the audience. You can talk to our panelists. You can actually post your questions. We'll take a short Q&A round at the end of the panel discussion. Just pop your questions in the chat boxes of whichever social media platform you're tuning in from. Our team will monitor those, pick them up, and we'll pose it to our panelists. Now, without further ado, I'll get into this very interesting session that we have lined up. And my first question will be to Guilherme from Salary Fits. Now, Salary Fits is a very interesting startup. It's an HR tech focused, customizable salary option. Now, Guilherme, as you know, all of our initial speakers had also sort of harped on again and again, was that entrepreneurs have this hunger for identifying opportunities, right? They have that keen eye to identify a problem, devise a solution for it. So from you, I would like to understand, and I would request you to shed light on how did you, come up with this particular solution? How did you identify the problem? And what is the advice that you would give to budding entrepreneurs from, India, Brazil, and globally as to how they can convert those ideas and their problems that they see into solutions? How does that journey look like?
Sure. Thank you very much, Navia. Thank you, Sergio. And of course, it's a pleasure being part of this moment here right now for fostering and empowering these connections between Brazilian and Indian companies, promoting innovation between both countries. We know that, we Brazil, we are really strong in field technologies and innovations, as India can offer a lot of technology to Brazil as well. So first of all, thank you very much for counting on us for being part of this event. So now, addressing directly your question, Salary Fit started 20 years ago in Brazil as a fintech/HR tech company in a regulated market that allows employees for getting financial benefits being deducted directly in the salary. So 3 years ago, we saw that the success case that we had in Brazil, now in Brazil operating with a market share of 85% of the market share in Brazil, having control around $25 billion of installments that need to be recovered through salary deductions. We saw that this unique technology and concept that we had in Brazil, it could be applied into other countries as well. So 3 years ago, we started here in India, and also we are already operating in Mexico, UK, Italy, Portugal, and Spain. So here in India, it came as a need. As soon as we start to solve here the needs of like financial inclusion and promoting better financial habits here in India. So since 2016, and you know better than me, also my colleagues Abhinav and Chandan, after the demonetization process here in India, we saw India going towards economy in a digital way. So less cash to cash and trying to support all these individuals with digital ways. So today we have here platforms such as Paytm and few other wallets that are promoting this change here in India. And nowadays we can say that like India is doing pretty well on this digitalization of the economy. We have UPI that was also just launched in Brazil this month, PIX, the equivalent in Brazil, that a lot of similarities, and our Brazilian team from the Brazilian Central Bank was inspiring and taking UPI as an example on how we can improve our Brazilian technology as well.
Thank you very much, Guilherme. It was very great to hear a little bit from what SalaryFit has been doing today. So right now, let's go to the next question. I have a question to Mr. Abhinav from Oyo. So thank you again for participating with us, Mr. Abhinav. So Oyo is one of India's unicorn startups. It has tremendous growth, not just in India, but globally. How would you describe the journey of Oyo in India and in Brazil? And I also would like to know what important market aspects supported the decision to go overseas and reach the Brazilian market?
Thank you for the question. I hope you all can hear me. And again, it's a privilege to be a part of this panel and to be speaking in the presence of some really esteemed guests. It's a great question, Sergio. Let me give you a very quick background. Oyo started in India in early 2013. And we saw that there is a huge opportunity in the Indian market where when you look at the macroeconomic picture, the smartphone penetration was increasing significantly. The demographic dividend was basically pushing more and more buying power towards younger population. And on top of this, if you looked at travel as a space, propensity of the consumers to spend on travel was actually increasing every year, right? And we looked at this and we realized that if you look at the hotel sector, more than 90% of the hotels in the Indian ecosystem were actually fragmented. These were hotels which were owned by mom and pop shop owners. And these shop owners did not have access to technology. Most of these hotels were less than 100 rooms in size. So the small hotels, typically in India, we call them the medium and small scale businesses, right? And they were the ones who were driving the hospitality industry in India. And Oyo saw a very important need to really bring technology to not only serve the hotel owners by providing them with the right technology to run the hotel, but also bring in the right technology to distribute hotels to the customers through our own distribution platform. And a bunch of other technology which would basically bring the consumers and hotel partners together and meet the needs, unserved needs of the consumers while making the life of the hotel partners very easy. And as we started scaling, we realized that there is tremendous opportunity because the markets are very, very deep. And when we started building India and we started looking at markets outside India, we realized that Brazil actually stands out with very, very similar characteristics. And I'm sure that these characteristics are the ones which are also bringing this partnership together. And that's what we saw when we started analyzing Brazil in 2018 and then early 2019 when we ventured into the market. huge demographic dividend with a young population. Almost 45% of the population is under 25 years of age. Then smartphone penetration, more than 140 million smartphone users, which other market, not many market can boast of such numbers. And again, a hospitality market where more and more of this market is being driven by domestic tourism. So people's propensity to spend is increasing over time. And on the supply side, the hoteliers were struggling with very similar problems that we see in India. This was again a market driven by small scale hotels, less than 100 rooms in size, and the hotel owners did not really have access to any technology. So it seemed a very, very good fit. And that's what we have seen over the last almost 2 years that we have been there now, with more than 400 hotels. If you look at just the number of hotels, we are amongst the largest chains there. And our technology, of course, it's a unique market, so we had to adapt to the local market, but the technology has fit in really well and has allowed us to make a difference in the market already.
Thank you, Abhinav. That is truly a very interesting insight, and I completely agree with you. I think not a lot of people realize just how similar the Brazilian and Indian markets are, and a lot of things that work here can actually work there, and the opportunities are absolutely immense. So, from the Indian company in Brazil, I'll move to the Brazilian company in India. And my next question is to Jean from WEG. We would really like to understand from you, Jean. WEG has been in India for over a decade at this point. So how has your experience expanding into the Indian market been? What have been your challenges? What have been your opportunities? And how would you sort of walk us through that whole experience?
Sorry, it wasn't me. Thanks for the opportunity. First of all, let me greet the honorable ambassadors. Those are here with us, the respected authorities, all ladies and gentlemen, those are following us. It's a great honor for WEG be part of this remarkable moment. This new bridge that is coming up will certainly just boost further, I would say, the already prosperous environment that was already in place between India and Brazil. I think just linking a little bit with what Mr. Ambassador Suresh and Mr. André, they said about the similarities of our cultures, the similarities of our businesses, and we have lots to prosper together, no doubt on that. So it's true, WEG has been part of this country already for the past 10 years in terms of manufacturing goods in the country. But we are actually dealing with the Indian market for almost 20 years already, right? So we started back in 2001, shipping machines from Brazil, supporting the development of this country, especially the infrastructure related to the hydro generation and the large lift irrigation schemes. Those you are in a very a proper way establishing and putting forward. So our experience in this market, I would say, yes, it is quite already relevant. And I personally deal with the Indian market for over 15 years, right from Brazil. I'm posted in India for almost 6 years. So I am a witness of this transformation that is happening, and this every day more, I would say, coming closer of our two nations. And I'm really glad in seeing all these moments, all this movement, right? In terms of challenges, right? Challenges, of course, every company that is going to a foreign country is going to find, right? But to be very honest, here in India, one of the main challenges maybe could be the competitive, I would say the competitiveness, because in this market we have basically all major players already established. We have plenty of local manufacturers for almost each and every goods. So that makes things quite challenging for us as a company. But on the other hand, this is definitely a great opportunity, because we have to keep on reinventing ourselves. We have to keep on making our products more and more optimized and reliable. We have to, I would say, survive. And surviving in a market that is quite competitive for the business we are having in India right now, being competitive in here means that we are ready for, I would say, challenging and fighting in almost any other country. So that is the good aspect, right? The culture, the habits could be, yes, one small challenge, but this is a point I would like to make to encourage all the other companies from Brazil, and why not from across the globe, to come to India. India is a very friendly country for the foreigners. You kind of embrace I mean, honestly, I feel like at home here in the country, and whenever I need support, whenever I need help, there is always someone there to support. But the culture definitely is different. You have a very ancient culture with some traditions, but it's just a matter of respecting and finding a way to carry forward. I mean, respecting each other, and that is the main challenges I would point out here. But on the other hand, these challenges brings and are also bridged by some very important opportunities that we see in here. For example, this is a very vibrant economy. We have the opportunity for almost every different type of business. This is a democracy, right? So this is a very good environment for the business perspective. And on top of that, if you allow me, I really would like to extend my great gratitude to Mr. Deepak Bagla, to the whole Invest India team, for all the extraordinary support they have always extended to WEG whenever we need it. So we have always felt very much supported, very much embraced by these authorities here in India, by these entities that can help us in moving forward. So, I mean, being sure that we have this support, also, I would like to extend my indeed great gratitude to Mr. André Correia do Lago as well, to our Brazil embassy in here, that is also all the time hearing us, supporting us, and extending each and every, I would say, support that might be required for one or other issue. So being supported by these Indian entities, as well as by the Brazilian government agents, government officials, those are here, brings us a lot of confidence that there is no other way but a very prosperous future in this country for any Brazilian entity that would like to come to India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean. And this is actually really important to mention because, yes, we have a different culture, we have a different business environment. However, even though there are some challenges to face when you go international, the opportunities overcome this challenge. So this is really important to hear. So all the companies that are like the Brazilian companies are watching, if you're willing to expand to India, yeah, you're gonna face challenge. However, it's a market of more than 1 billion people, and it's an extraordinary culture and warm people, and with thousands of opportunities. So just like Jean and Guilherme said, just go ahead and APEC Brazil and Invest in India. I am sure that all of us will be here to help you guiding through the best opportunities. So my next question right now is to Mr. Chandan. I'm sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly, but I believe. So, Mr. Chandan, well, Mahindra is a group, like Conviva actually is a group of Mahindra Corporation, and it has operations in many, many countries, including Brazil. Could you shed light on what are the key factors to keep in mind while you're looking to expand into a new country?
Sure. Thanks, Sergio. And you pronounced it absolutely fine. So, and a big thank you to the entire Startup India team and the Apex Brazil team, and congratulations, I guess, to both the countries, the startup community, the enablers to initiate this bridge and giving opportunity to both the country startups to collaborate and get business to different levels. And it's very interesting, Sergio, that you ask about expanding to new markets at a time when Comviva have been included in one of Harvard Business School studies, especially, and the name of the study is actually Comviva Exploring New Frontiers. So it kind of makes it more relevant at this point of time, and it happened last month only. So it kind of includes all the all our success stories and our history about how we have been able to penetrate the emerging and complex markets, if I can put it like that, especially Latin America, Middle East and Southeast Asia, and Africa, and as well as Australia. So that study is something which is a reflection of our expansion to new markets, although the focus of that study is towards our merger and acquisition strategies, and that is one of the biggest strategies which we have been able to take it to the extent that it has helped us to grow in the new markets and expand in new markets, especially our acquisitions in Latin America, especially the ATS acquisition we did, Advanced Technology Solutions, which is a Argentinian company, equally big in Brazil, and the Imagine Australia company also. So when we talk about expanding to new markets, merger and acquisition definitely plays a big role, but there are basic factors, basic hygiene factors that everyone should kind of consider, especially when it comes to the legal and regulatory requirements, and the manpower and the taxation requirements. So these basic factors are always something to consider whenever we are talking about expanding to a new market. Other than these basic factors, there are things which are related to operational logistics. That's something which you have to be very aware of. You have to be very hands-on with when it comes to thinking about going to a new horizon, and operational logistics include the physical location, any equipment involved, all the materials, anything related to shipping, logistic. So you have to be very hands-on with all these parts of the business when we are trying to think about expanding to new markets. A very important point which comes is also the familiarity which you should have with the market, and it works both ways. It's not about the familiarity of the organization with the market, also the familiarity of the market with the organization. How well the market understands the organization, or things related to the organization maybe. So that familiarity helps a lot. Competition of the market definitely plays a big role. You should understand the competition very well. A major factor sometimes which kind of gets ignored is also the economic and political stability of that market. So whenever we consider all the business side of things, we consider all the operational side of things, we should not forget the strategic side of things, which really plays a big role, which is the what is the economic stability of that market, what is the political stability of that market. And I think bodies like Apex Brazil and Startup India plays a big role here in terms of providing this kind of bridge, which we have seen in past as well with different countries, where we can really the challenges and the things to consider which I talked about, it can really be overcome using agencies like this who have expertise and who have really those level of connections or level of partnership, or the ecosystem understanding, which helps to establish in those markets. So using these connections, and using these agencies, one can definitely think about getting a more stable a launch strategy, and a stable initial launch in any new market.
Thank you so much, Chandan. That was very insightful, and absolutely, Startup India and organizations like Apex Brazil, Invest India, Startup India are definitely at your disposal. But generally, I feel it's definitely important for founders and entrepreneurs that are looking to expand to different geographies. it's very important to have your corners covered, to understand those markets, to build that kind of familiarity and understand the landscape that you're actually venturing into, because it's a decision with very few comebacks, so to speak. So you should definitely take it with a lot of caution. However, it bears a lot of fruit. So coming back to Sajid Fitzguilherme, we touched upon this theme of cultural and linguistic differences. Jean touched upon it and said that it sometimes crops up as a challenge that, India and Brazil, India, of course, is a very ancient country. It has its own, set of culture. It has its own, languages, right? There are so many Indian languages I, as an Indian, do not know. So there are a host of those challenges that you sort of come across, right? So as a startup that, of course, operates in India and Brazil and many other geographies that you mentioned, I believe, United Kingdom, Mexico, Portugal, how have you sort of, overcome these linguistic and cultural barriers, and how has it been different? How has your experience been different in India as opposed to the other geographies that you, operate?
Great point, Nivea. Of course, we have different aspects on Brazilian culture and Indian culture, but we have a lot of similarities as well. Like being both countries worldwide have been seen as friendly, open people. So we are more than welcome here in India, and as I believe that our Indian colleagues are being treated in Brazil. I wouldn't say that language wouldn't be a problem for a startup here in India. In business here, we deal every day with English only. Our documents here are based in English and everything. It's even easier for us, opening and starting a business here in India than for a friend starting in Brazil, maybe for that language challenge. It's a shame after living here in India for 5 years, I don't speak Hindi. I just say words like mujhe pata hai, aapka naam kya hai, and a few other words. But for an Indian living in Brazil, it's almost impossible without Portuguese. So language, in the language aspect, I think that English is not a challenge. Even I feel when I'm working with Indian colleagues inside our business environment, it's not professional sometimes talking between us in Hindi. So, okay, let's keep in English. So language wouldn't be a challenge for a Brazilian company here at all. But of course, after having to succeed in Brazil and throughout the countries, it doesn't mean that we're going to replicate our model that we had in Brazil here in India. We used to say that we need to Indianize our platform here and throughout the countries. Just to give a few examples, for example, in Brazil and India, we have our payroll cut in 30 days, 1 month. But in Mexico, we have that every 2 weeks. So of course, we had to adjust our platform for each country, each market. Here in India, colors, approach as well. For example, in Brazil, we have a strong concept of promoting personal loans and credit in our platform. Here in India, we know that we have a strong culture of savings products. So we cannot just come to our platform with our platform to India, trying to offer loans and not considering that savings products, insurance products would be important for the Indian market as well. And just another example, I had the pleasure maybe 1 month ago of sharing a panel with Mr. Rohim Pinto from Oil Rooms, having the operations there in Brazil and Latin America. And we have in Brazil, boleto is a kind of a payment draft unit that we have in Brazil. So Oil Room, when we're starting in Brazil as well, they need to adapt that, because in Brazil sometimes we need to do a payment through a boleto. So understanding both countries, what's common, sometimes you cannot just assume that you're going to a country and you're going to push your solution and it's going to be working perfect well as the other experience you had in other markets. So Indianizing, contextualizing your product, your platform with your market, of course, it's most required. And as Jean was also saying, we have a lot of bureaucratic challenges here sometimes as well, few other experience, but for sure, I would be encouraging my colleagues, my friends in Brazil, that India should be a market to keep attention in the next few years. in Brazil, have a strong culture of like dealing with America, dealing with Europe, and not like focusing on Asian sometimes. And we, with this bridge that are being created, of course, with the support of Apex, Startup India, Invest India, and our Brazilian bodies and Indian bodies, we should count on that and start to consider this amazing market of 1.3 billion and like growing and growing if year after year.
Guilherme, I gotta say that I loved the Indialize expression you used, because this is something that people that are willing to expand its business should have in mind. If you are going to a different market, you must adapt your product, you must adapt your service to the market you're going to. Otherwise, I'm really sure that you're not gonna have success. If you wish to do the same you do in Brazil, if you wish to do the same in India, it's not gonna work, because each market has its own peculiarities. I'm not sure if I pronounce it correctly, but each country works in a different way. Even though we have very things similar, we still have to do something. And talking about adaptation, my question goes to Mr. Abhinav. I would like to ask now a little bit about the context that we are living in, about coronavirus and all these things. I would like to understand a little bit more, how has OYO tried to overcome the distress due to the impact of COVID-19 on travel and lodging facilities? And regarding all these things, I also would like to ask, how can founders adapt their business model to this dynamic environment? I mean, one day everything is normal, the next day we had a global pandemic, but still OYO is a huge success. So I'd like to hear a little bit from you.
Yeah, thank you. I think, as we all know, it will be first prudent for me to acknowledge and say that, everyone is still learning and still analyzing how to react best and how to manage your business, and not just manage your own business, but also manage your partners, your customers, and stay true to your promise even in these times, right? It's an unforeseen situation by not just our generation, but from any generation that we had an opportunity to learn from. So almost everyone is in the driver's seat and you have to make decisions yourself. I think this is where, for us, as we look at it, a couple of things for us have been very helpful in these times. Of course, from a business lens, you have to think of your expansion plans differently. You have to conserve cash. You have to really look at doing things differently, challenging the old ways. But I think that's sort of, I've realized, has been the easy part. The tougher part has been how you really not just take care of your own self, but also how you help your partners, your vendors, your entire ecosystem as you emerge out of this crisis. That has been definitely the learning for us. And we have seen that as we have partnered with governments and sort of helped stranded passengers who were locked up in different countries and couldn't travel back to their own countries, as we have partnered with hospitals to serve customers who have come in for treatments and their families, as we have partnered with our hotel partners to roll out sanitization programs and help them open back up with new guidelines to make sure that they are safe, their own staff is safe, and therefore they can be safe while serving customers. We have learned that being true to the partners is being more inclusive of not just surviving, but making sure that the ecosystem survives is something that is absolutely critical. You cannot get out of this crisis alone, right? You have to make sure that the ecosystem is gaining as you basically learn to adapt. The second learning for us has been that we realized that using technology as a lever for being agile, as a tool for really transforming your business model in so many ways, whether it be the cost that is a part of your business model, or whether it be the new markets that your business model can appeal to. Technology by far is the most agile tool that you have. So we have always been a technology company, but our appreciation for how much each company needs to invest in really being cutting edge as far as technology is concerned, that appreciation has gone up significantly. So while we have always been a technology company, we have consciously now we are trying to invest even more resources in building technology, because we have realized that it's the only tool which allows you to scale and disrupt markets, but also allows you to survive when the market is getting disrupted by just third-party forces on which you have no control. So for example, because of our technology in India, Indonesia, and we are soon launching in Brazil, we have been able to launch now what we are calling contactless check-in, wherein basically customers can upload all the IDs, everything on the app. It gets pre-verified, and you just go to the counter, and there is a certain place where your keys are sanitized and kept there, and you can just breeze through the reception. So even for economy hotels where you do not have digital locks, right? Even there, you can basically deliver seamless contactless check-in without really asking your partners to invest in these difficult times, because the partners cannot invest in these times. So you have to work with them and figure out a solution, and that solution is fully technology-based. So that's sort of just two examples of learnings around these two themes. But more around, as you think about as entrepreneurs, as leaders, I think the first learning is obvious. As I mentioned, you have to think about the ecosystem. You cannot get out of this crisis and be successful when your partners or your vendors or your customers are failing. It's just not possible. It's sort of, you have to think about where is the bottleneck. If one person in your ecosystem is failing, you have to think broadly about how your company within the realms of possibility can actually support and help that part of the ecosystem. It's extremely, extremely important. But beyond that, I think we have also learned that there are certain aspects of the business model where innovation has to continue, and it is accelerating now. So my advice for all the entrepreneurs and CEOs would be that there is a lot of opportunity in the ecosystem to learn and really grow adapt your technology roadmap, accelerate your technology roadmap, whether it be to open new markets for your company, or whether it be to build a fundamentally different business model with a lower cost structure for your company. But those are the opportunities now, and now is the time. I hope that most companies will survive, and when we look back 10 years down the line, we will all credit this period to be the period where everyone brought about the highest levels of innovation, and everyone was at their best in really figuring things out. And this will happen when we are really looking at the solutions with an open mind, and not really overawed by the challenge. This challenge, of course, given the duration of this challenge, this is a very big challenge. But just keeping cool heads and making sure you have the cash runway and giving yourself that mind space to focus on innovation is going to be key.
Sorry, Navya, you're on mute.
My apologies. So, Abhinav, completely agree with you. I was just saying that, while the global pandemic, it's been a trying time for all of us. I mean, we're all working from home, we've moved completely virtual, and, so on and so forth. But it's kind of pushed us in a corner where now we are just having to adopt, and be more innovative and come up with more solutions and problem solve at an accelerated pace. And I'm sure, it will reap fruits in the long term. I think we just need to, stay put in the short term and just get through this, and hopefully we'll all be better. My next question is, I'll come back to Jean, because Abhinav touched upon a very interesting point. He harped on how technology and innovation is very important. And you, in your previous question, previous answer, also mentioned how India, of course, is a pretty competitive market, and you're constantly having to reinvent yourself. So my question to you is that, how has WEG sort of integrated innovation into your business, and how do you cooperate with startups that are sort of, leading this movement of innovation and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Snavia. Look, I will split into this answer first related to innovation, right? So I really, I'm a witness of what is happening in WEG. I'm already in this company for 18 years, right? So I can strongly say that one of the pillars of the success of the sustainable growth and the performance of this company nowadays is definitely the innovation, right? The innovation is on the DNA of this company. We started decades ago in partnerships with universities, in partnership with people that does this research and bring new technologies, new way of doing the things. So all this innovation developed, through all these many years has definitely brought and has put WEG in a different position nowadays. So this innovation is one of the very important things of us. And to be very honest, we have been awarded in the past 6 years as the most innovative company in Brazil for our segment. So this remains in a very strong way. WEG keeps on investing approximately 3% of our net revenues in research and development. And we have engineering teams spread across the globe. We have engineering teams, designing and doing research in the United States, in Mexico, in China, here in India. By the way, in India, we have an engineering team of approximately 100 engineers doing the design of our products, as well as the research and development for our new way of doing the machines and optimizations and adaptation to the market needs. As Sergio rightly pointed, when we are in a different country, sometimes you have to adapt some things, and this is perfectly much there in WEG way of doing the things, right? So now, coming to the startups, right? So I can say that one of the flagships for WEG for the next years, for the coming years, is going to be the Industry 4.0. Right? So we already have solutions for many different market segments. We have verticals related to power generation, then large motors, industrial motors, automation division, transmission and distribution, chemical division with coats and paintings. And now time has come for us to capitalize on all this portfolio we have by integrating all these things also in a very synergic way, offering to the market solutions on the Industry 4.0, where we are going to have, I would say, the live, monitoring and handling of all this information, managing of all this information together. So especially and specifically speaking about startups, just to share with you, recently, WEG has acquired 3 startups in Brazil, the control of these startups. One of them dedicated for the artificial intelligence, other 2 dedicated for hardware and software for this Internet of Things, for the industrial segments. And we really want to compile and put all these things together, offering to the market a very comprehensive solution. Right from the power generation up to the very final consumption. So this innovative way of doing the things is making WEG bringing to the market constantly new products and new solutions. I just would like to share with you that a very brand new design of a 4.2 megawatt wind turbine, direct drive, full power converter, in a very, I would say, engineered design to minimize the number of parts and maximize the reliability of the equipment, is being launched now simultaneously in Brazil and in India, right? So we are right now working on putting up the prototype of this wind turbine here in India, and we are already open to the market to start finding opportunities for this really new launch. That is again coming from this innovative of WG. We have solutions recently launched as well for even for the transportation segment with regenerative electric axles for trucks, for example, that will be saving fuel in there. We recently signed an agreement for partnering in a development of converting combustion vehicles into electric vehicles. So all these innovative thinking is always there in the DNA of WEG in a such way that I believe it would not be wrong in saying that WEG is actually a giant startup, because we keep on constantly working and finding new way of doing the things. Thank you.
Just great, Gia. And this is actually the new reality, because big corporations such as WEG, such as Mahindra, it's very common that to go to the market requires to always be working with innovation. So regarding this point of innovation, I still have one more question to Mr. Chandan from Mahindra. So I would like to hear what are the key synergies that the corporates are nowadays looking at in the intermediate and long terms, and how can startups fulfill these requirements, especially since Conviva has worked with startups like IBEX in the past?
Sure. I will start with your second part of the question, Sergio, and especially you mentioned about Yabex. We have, Yabex is one of the names. So there have been a few more startups that we incubated, and by the way, these are all incubated internally. So we try to follow the innovation culture to the maximum internally, and Yabex, TerraPay, Factorial, and Infinity are some of the names who came out from the ideas which were generated internally, and they went to become organizations in themselves, of course under the bigger umbrella of Conviva, but they have now customers who are large enterprises, and they're working individually with them as well. Especially TerraPay being one of our startup portfolio startups, which recently we have kind of disinvested, and they have received investment from International Finance Corporation, which is a World Bank group, and they have kind of become an organization in themselves, and they're doing pretty well. And Factorial and Infinity are some of the other examples. They have been able to establish their own startups. We have heard our other panelists talk about innovation, and especially in technology, and being an organization who is a technology organization. So if I go back to your first question, our first and foremost kind of a synergy factor that we look for whenever we talk about startup is definitely innovation in technology. That kind of brings us to pace. And I like John mentioned, it's sometimes difficult at big enterprises to have that energy and have that culture going on, which kind of keeps you driving. And startups like this comes, and we have that opportunity which we give to these startups, and turn it around, and we are again rolling the stones, and things are again moving on that speed and on that pace, which brings everything back to the situation where it's beneficiary for that particular startup as well as for us to leverage our experience and be innovative and be at the pace and at the level of that startup. So I think that mix of innovation in technology definitely is some of the biggest factors that we look for when we have these kind of startups coming out from our portfolio and working with them, and allowing them. So we have a process, or we have related tools where we make sure that innovation is taken to the extent of making them business by themselves, covering all the aspects. So we do multiple rounds round of all the things, from ideation event to a hackathon event to whatever we can, to innovation awards, to make sure that we keep that culture going, we keep that things rolling for our startups and our organization, which take it to that level. And the other part of our synergies, or when we talk about long-term relationship with startups, of course, building it from the scratch internally is definitely one of the things that we have seen good success in past. But we have also done a lot of co-selling opportunities and kind of GTM strategies with some of the startups which want to reach out to customers. We all understand a big organization, when we are going for a RFP, most of the times you will have a lot of solutions which respond to that RFP, but there will be some of those which you might not have in terms of your own product suites or your own range of products. So that's the time when these startups can come in and we can open the market for them. We can come together and respond to one of those RFPs and do the work together. Not only it helps us to kind of open up new revenue streams for us and respond to our customers' request in a very comprehensive manner. It also helps us to increase our IP portfolio at times. We have been talking about a lot of merger and acquisition strategies at the beginning, and that's also something which is very open for us when we talk about working with the startups and how do we take it to the next level with them and having synergies with them. So internal events definitely were something that helped us to take it to those levels, and startups like Yabex and TerraPay are example, but external events and how we are working with them has also helped us to take that to a next level.
Just great. And I hope that the Brazilian startups are watching this and taking this message. And we hope that Mahindra expand even more its operation here in Brazil and start cooperating with the Brazilian startups. So this is an important message to everyone that here in Brazil watching right now. So we are already ran out of time. So I'll just like to address one more question. However, this should be a question to everyone. So, and still talking about the innovation and this whole startup ecosystem, which has been growing both in Brazil and India. So I would like to hear in few words, what synergies do you see in the Brazilian and in the Indian startup ecosystem and the two nations in general regarding innovation? Yeah, I believe we can start with Guilherme. I'm sorry. It's up to you.
Sorry, if you guys allow me to start. I would say that this pandemic scenario brought us like a great opportunity for tech companies. So we are just having this scenario right now. We are having this call because we are being promoted by technology. So precisely talking about the innovation and technology collaboration between both countries, I really strongly recommend and say that we have amazing way to explore on fintechs, and not just because salary fit, but we have like a lot of similarity between both countries. And agritech, as I think that we had an event yesterday or today itself, talking, also promoting about the agritech business between both countries. So we have, again, we have a lot of challenge the two nations, and we have a lot of opportunities that both we could have better synergies and explore.
Mr. Abhinav?
John, you should go ahead. So, Sergio, thanks. I think, as I said, of course, on the front of technology, I think it's seamless and easiest to get the synergies going. It's a lot of synergies. I've seen that synergies grow over time. You need a very strong start, and of course, credit to Apex Brazil and Invest India that they are bringing the two ecosystems together, and also the sponsorship that we are getting from both His Excellencies here, Mr. Reddy and Mr. Correa de Lago. It's important to just bring them together first. But I think the head start we will get by getting the two tech ecosystems together. I think the payment space is one such space where I see already a lot of collaboration happening, a lot of cross-learning coming into the place. And I think SaaS companies, we talk about a lot of consumer spaces, but I also believe that a lot of direct B2B companies, technology companies, we will see a lot of these companies moving into different geographies and leading innovation. On the consumer side, historically, I've seen there are more challenges, more differences. B2B spaces tend to be a lot more similar. So, that is, again, what will lead it. But again, I would say from a synergies perspective, it is important to recognize the effort that is being put to just bring the two ecosystems together. And then, once the initial job is done, it will be up to the individual startups and the more specific, verticals to really take it forward from here.
Just great. Jean?
Yeah, gentlemen, I think Mr. Avinav and Mr. Guilherme have already made very good points. So then I will be complementing that, saying that we have, I think, not only synergies, but also the similarities that is going to drive us to a very prosperous future. And the similarity I'm referring to here is the capacity of our teams. I would say the capacity, in my case, specifically speaking about engineering, right? We have very capable engineering strength in India. We have very capable engineering strength in Brazil. And we have always these two teams working in synergy and collaborating. And as a result of this synergy of these two teams of us, we have built in India recently and commissioned recently the largest synchronous motors ever produced by WEG, who are driving some of the largest pumps possibly running in the world for a very social important project that is a Kaleshwaram lift irrigation scheme. So this is just one example of what the synergy between these two strengths can bring to us. Thank you.
Yeah, I think all my panelist friends have already covered almost, and to keep close watch on the time. So I think we are talking about two of the countries who are both of them are in the top 10 of world's largest economy, and I think both the ambassadors, the presidents of Apex and Startup India have already covered it. The population and the kind of diversity which we have, of course, coming from the telecom background, we can and I would definitely see more opportunities coming out from that sector, especially with the mobile sets, with the SIM cards, and all the other options. And we are talking about moving completely to digital media, and that brings more opportunity to all the tech startups of the world to bring more solution to that. And I think that can be one of the touching points which we expect the world to touch into when we see the synergy going into more heights. So yeah, thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to all of our panelists. And, we've definitely overshot by quite a bit, but I think it speaks of the quality of the discussion we just had. I think it was a brilliant discussion. We learned a lot, gained a lot of insight. I hope it was just as exciting for the viewers. Thank you so much, Sergio, for co-moderating with me. It is always a pleasure. And thank you so much, so much to the panelists for taking out the time and being a part of this very special day for all of us. And I wish you a very good evening and a good day in Brazil and a good evening in India. Thank you so much. And
thank you, everyone.